Hey everyone, it's Jar. Before the introduction, the official introduction, I'm going to do a slideshow presentation just to give you an overview of what we're going to be doing today. Now, distressing edge papers is very time consuming, very tedious and very laborious. I want to share with you the medieval mirage method, and that is time saving. It allows for multiple papers at one go. It's very natural. It looks realistic, and I'm going to show you all my secrets of the trade to really get that effective look that looks so real. So I hope you can enjoy this journey with me. So it's a rapid process of distressing. It doesn't shrink your papers as much as if you're tearing them or using decorative scissors. You will see how I'd go about dealing with a lot of the issues that many might experience, but this I have found personally is fast, effective, and the results are absolutely stunning. And please continue watching. Hey everyone, welcome. It's the 6th of July 2022. And it's great to have your company, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're all doing well. Okay, so this tutorial is actually being prompted by someone who left me a comment about 4 months ago. And again, please everyone forgive me for always being so slow to respond. I really appreciate all your comments and I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Just please know that I will eventually get to you, and thank you. And in some cases, just know that I do get very overwhelmed. So if I don't respond, please don't take it personally. I just am not always in a position to respond due to my health and other commitments. But thank you for your understanding. It just so happened that when I uploaded my video the other day, when I'm uploading something, I just jump in and then that's it. I'm gone. But it just so happened that something caught my eye as I was probably trying to maneuver myself around YouTube, and it was key comments or something, highlight comments, and there was 2 there, and one of them was by Rosaleo. I hope I've pronounced your name well, Rosaleo. But he said, and thank you for the compliments, like he enjoyed the video that I did back in July 2018 on how to age and distress paper. And he said it's a great method, but it's not paper, it's cardboard. And I went, you are absolutely right. So I hope I wasn't misleading. I didn't actually mean to mislead anyone. It was actually a lightweight cardstock, and I think it was about, I don't know, 170 or 180 GSM, and you know, it still could tear, but obviously it wasn't as lightweight as paper. And I was really cross with myself because I haven't done any updates since then to show you the methods that I like to use to age on actual paper rather than something as cardstock. So it wasn't cardboard per se, because you can go up to like 200 and more, you know, 240, 300, and that is super strong, but it was a lightweight. And of course papers can start from, I don't know, as low as 40 GSM, maybe even lower, and go right all the way up to really solid stuff. So we normally use here in Australia, the printing paper that we use is basically 80 GSM. Sometimes it's 90, sometimes it's 70. But I thought I would show you how I deal with the paper that I think Rosaleo was talking about. So thank you, Rosaleo, for that, and I thank YouTube for bringing it to my attention, because normally I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm not really always aware of my surrounds, so it can be a bit oblivious, so I apologize for that. So thank you, Rosaleo. And so I've done this video and I've already recorded it. This is more the introduction of it, just to show you what we'll be doing. So you'll be seeing me actually just mop up some of the papers and how to even get that kind of yellowed effect, because we'll be doing a few things. And what I wanted to say was I'm going to be hopefully editing in the next couple of days. So this may end up being part 1, part 2, part 3. But I'll make sure there's a timestamp so that you can sort of jump ahead of the introduction and then go straight into the areas that you want to go to. However, I will encourage you to look at the whole process because it's very involved and I go through everything in detail. So it is worth your while watching it for your own benefit, really, so that you can get the most out of it. It's a wet day outside. We've got a bit of traffic going outside, so you can hear the swooshing of cars going by. I've got a heater on over there. You know, it's winter over here in Melbourne, Australia. So that's, you know, humming in the background. I've got my beautiful husband home who's in his study, but he has a very squeaky chair. So if you're hearing all these weird noises going on, please excuse them. Just focus on my voice and my hands. Okay. So, yeah, so I just wanted to show you what we're going to be doing together. And some of these papers, these were already coffee tea stain papers, but I'll be showing you these techniques with the really kind of heavier distressing. Okay, now some of these papers are some of these papers can get quite waterlogged and they can thicken up. So that's the other thing about coffee staining. They can get thicker and thicker the more you coffee stain them. So this is the real heavy grade distressing. Okay, that's the real heavy grade one that you'll be seeing how to do that with paper. This is the finer grade. It's still quite distressed, but this is the one that I think is extremely natural. I mean, if you were looking at an old book, this is what you would be looking at. So this is the very natural approach to doing this, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, if you're wondering about the different colors in there, that will be my faded and frayed technique. So all the tutorials that I mention are going to be listed below. Please, once you've followed the whole series, click on each of those tutorials. They will open up a new world for you if this is the first time you're doing any of this kind of paper aging. All right. Okay, so that's basically that. And these are the faded and frayed papers that I do with my silhouette kits. And that's where it releases, when you've got an inkjet printer, it releases the colors and you get this kind of beautiful Persian china blue. You get a vintage kind of brown, but you also get this incredible greeny khaki color as well. I mean, this was done at the same time. I mean, look at that. So this is from the silhouette kits. I will put them below because some of you have been interested in that method, and you use it with the faded and frayed method. So yeah, you get that really beautiful khaki look. Oh, it's beautiful. You just don't get a uniform look. You just get a continual flow of these fantastic things. But they are so beautiful, especially if you're going for that kind of French theme with that kind of French blue. It's awesome as well. So anyway, why I've got these papers is because I used these papers to create these effects. Okay, so they were already coffee tea stains, so you don't have to start from scratch. You can get your papers, and when we do the tutorial, I will show you how to do this. Okay. So let me put these together. We're going to put just the normal coffee tea staining. I never iron. I only have books to flatten them because I really love that kind of wavy look to the papers. So that's already basically looking aged anyway. I mean, look at that. I didn't even ink that. That's all due to the coffee tea staining effect.
and the multiple colors that you would expect to happen over time. Something yellows more, something browns more, and so forth. Okay, so these are just the normal ones. I'm just going to just grab this one here. Okay, so this is your normal coffee tea stained faded and frayed method if you want, but you can just do coffee or tea staining, whatever you prefer. This is the fine grade. So these are the medieval mirage method. This is the finer one, the natural looking one, and this is the more heavy-handed one. Okay, so that's the real grunge look. So I'm going to put them here. So the real grunge distress, the fine and distress, and just your normal. Okay, they all look really cool together actually. So that's on the sides. That's what they look like, side by side, and I'll just flip them around. Okay, so this is your fine. This is just your coffee tea stain, no distressing. This is the real heavy grunge. So that's what you'll be learning. I will also show you what's helpful in mopping up your papers.
Talking about mopping up papers, what I mean is using the leftover tea and coffee that you have and mopping them up with your plain printer paper. They end up being quite aged anyway, as you could see in that picture there. So they're worth you using up all your tea, coffee, brew, and in that way you'll have more papers on hand to go to when another project requires that you need papers that require a distressed edge. The papers are coffee stained, then you can distress to your heart's content.
So let's just get out the aging tools. Okay, so why is this technique that I'm sharing with you of any value to you? That is the question. Why is it of value? All right, so normally if you're going to be doing rough edges, most of you most likely will be using a tear ruler, or I've got one that I've made my own. I've got quite a few. There's a tutorial linked below on how to make your own and customize it to your needs. And some of you might have these kind of decorative scissors, but even if you don't have those, you've got rulers, so you can use rulers. If you're wanting a full journal with none of your pages shrinking and you want full real estate of your entire page intact, then that of what I showed you earlier just now is going to reduce the size. It's going to, because you're going to be affecting it. Even if you're trying to do this, if you've got hundreds of papers, how's your hand going to go after all that time? So for me personally, the reason why I like to do it this way is because it's faster. Because you'll see my technique.
Explain this very well, and I do apologize. What I'm trying to say is you get more done in the least amount of time. Usually when you're distressing the edge of papers, it is like one paper at a time. So with one paper, if you're using the tear ruler, you're going to be absolutely doing one page at a time. You might manage to, but it'll be tricky. If you have a trimmer that has kind of a distressed edge, you might be better off using one like that. But even with the decorative scissors, the deckled edge scissors, these can also be time consuming as well. But the tear rulers, or even just a plain ruler, even your decorative scissors, they're going to eat into the space of your paper. It's going to decrease its size. So if you don't want to decrease the size of your papers, then this is the method that I'm sharing with you today. I hope that has explained it. I don't know why I was having trouble that day, but yeah, my brain cells were certainly on strike. But anyway, let's get back to this. I hope I'm not making a mess of explaining everything and confusing you more, but anyway, please bear with me and thanks for doing so.
But I can get all of this done so much faster. It's always accurate. It's always consistent but still looks natural. And I can ink it up in no time. I don't even have to do each individual page. So that's why I'm showing you this technique. It really is very practical, especially if you've got quite a few journals where everyone wants distressed edges. It can get really tedious if you want to do a good job and not waste any paper. So if you've got one that needs the full page and you don't want any of your pages kind of shrinking, but you want them to stay the size, then this is the tutorial for you. So I'm going to be showing you how to rapidly do this rapidly. I will also show you how to rapidly ink everything up so that you're not doing each page on its own. It's going to be super fast. If you're only needing to do 1 or 2 pieces of paper, I've got a tutorial for you on that as well. So I'm trying to cover everyone's bases. But as journal crafters, a lot of us are being commissioned to do all sorts of things for people. They love that old look, distressed look. They want it really old, especially if you're going down a historical path, then they want it. Well, I'm trying to, for myself, trying to speed up my results. So if I take away the papers that are coffee tea stained already and they don't have anything, but I mean, wouldn't you love to get this done in no time? I mean, wouldn't you love to do that? And then you can even interchange these. You could have some extreme in with the gentle approach. Well, it's not gentle, but the finer one. So you can mix and match these and integrate them haphazardly to make them look even more natural. So if that's the look you're going for, your journals, then this is the tutorial for you. You're not going to lose much paper, but even if you're going for something smaller, it will speed up your process dramatically. I'll just put them there so that you can keep looking at them. Yeah, because it's when you fan them out that you really start to see, and that's why having the various different colors is very helpful. Okay. Now, the tools of the trade may require some safety gloves or something that's going to protect the hand that is holding the papers when you're starting to do the distressing. So fingerless gloves are good, but they could still not be enough coverage, so you might need a glove. You might need a mitten or a safety glove if you're a clumsy crafter like me. I tend to be oblivious and I tend to just go for it and totally mess up my hands. So this is not intended for children, this is just for adults, but even for adults, safety first, careful and caution before crafting. Okay, right, so these are all the tools of aging, but we're going to take away all of these. I mean, for this part, but this is going to be staying for the fine grade paper, so we'll keep that in the corner there. But basically, these are staying, and of course, whatever applicator you've got, you'll see what I'll be using, but these are really all you're going to need. Okay, you may end up needing like a water brush or just a brush, and some of you might most likely have one of these little groovy things as well, so that's another thing.
I also wanted to mention this little groovy tool. So this is a distress tool that I've had for a while. Now, not everyone can purchase distress tools, that's why I've made the kitchen utensil of a cutlery knife as a tool. as a fallback tool. But if you have got this little distressing tool or possibly something similar, but you can give it a try. And I have actually tried this little doovie groovy little one, but the reason why I haven't showcased it in this instance was I wanted to make something available that everybody universally can use with just a little semi-blunt serrated knife. However, the little tool that you can see in front of you, that can do the same job, and it's probably a little bit less brutal on the hands if you're worried about your hands getting hurt. It does require, because it's quite short, the handle, so it does require a lot of gripping. So if gripping is a bit too much for you, it might be hard. However, it did perform quite well. When I was trying it out, I think I had about 8, maybe 10 papers. It's a lot of a smaller result due to the size of it. So, but it did give that kind of rough look to the papers. So if any one of you has a tool like that, give that one a go and see how it performs for you, depending on what size of paper and the thickness of the paper. If it's just 80 GSM like me, I was able to do about 8 pages with mine. I could have gone up to even 10 or 12, but it is a lot smaller and it's a different feel. But see what you've got at home and play around with it. You don't have to use the tools that I'm using for the speedy method.
So again, look at the timestamp for what you need, but this is a very comprehensive involved. You don't want to miss a step. It's going to be very, very helpful. So for those of you especially that are new, or playing around with the idea of aging paper or distressing it, or even coffee staining, and you're nervous about it, I'm going to be holding your hand throughout, especially with the links below as well. So always remember there's tutorials in my playlist or linked below. Okay, so in one of them you're going to need a walnut stain or vintage photo. The walnut stain kind of gives you, with the coffee, it gives you a yellowing, but it also releases a bit of like a kind of khaki and then a bit of violet in it. So very interesting color combinations. I absolutely love it. And the vintage photo obviously will add that hint of warmth to your coffee tea staining, as you will see. All right, so you can make it with these. So if you've got coffee and you want to make it, I don't know, a little bit different, try some of the Distress ink, just a drop. Play around with it and always do little tests. So always do little tests first. And so that's what I mean here, like you almost get a range of blended colors happening just naturally. So test them out. If you don't like it, well, make it more coffee-ish or tea-ish. But I would be writing the recipe down, how many tablespoons of coffee, tea, the works, and then just build from that. Write the recipe, do your test, stick that on top of that test, on top of what you've written, then move on to the next one if you want to make it darker, lighter, and until you get the color you want. All right, so I don't use anything special. It's just home brand stuff. Tea bags, instant coffee. Generally, I like to mix the two up. Sometimes I make it weak, sometimes I make it really strong. It depends what I'm making. So yeah, so there's those. The paper I'm using is 80 GSM and it's just plain printer paper. I did use a couple of digital papers. They're about probably 100 or 108 GSM, but that was just by mistake. I thought I was getting white paper, but didn't realize. But it's much of a muchness. In that video, I showed you how to distress papers, well, light cardstock with a serrated cutlery knife that's available in your kitchen. And of course, this video is not intended for children, so if you're watching, go away. Sorry, it's not because I'm not friendly. You really need an adult with you. So please enjoy the video that is coming, the tutorials that are coming. And as I said, they might be part 1, 2, or 3. So please stick with me and enjoy this experience.
So here's the tutorials coming up next.
Today I just wanted to show you the way to handle paper if you want to age your edges, like distress the edges. I mean, when you're coffee staining your papers, so this is the coffee tea staining, and I've also done the faded and frayed. So if you want to know about the faded and frayed, I'll put that below. So that's why these are more of a bluish tinge, and these are just plain coffee tea stain paper. But as you know, when we coffee stain our papers, we get that ripple effect anyway. Some of you might not like it, so a lot of you possibly might iron it. I always put books down. I can't be bothered ironing. But it still means that when your journals are sitting in there, I mean, when your signatures are sitting in your journals, I mean, pretty much you're getting that real rustic, distressed look because they're kind of all wrinkled. Now, some of you possibly use your rulers to cut around your papers. I do that too. But when I'm actually wanting journal pages in my signatures, I'm not going to go all the way around and cut them or tear them or use my tear rulers all the way around. It is very time consuming. But can I just show you what to do with your papers? So each of these papers are 80 GSM. So they're the cheap printer paper that you can get. But they are very flimsy. So if you're going to be trying to saw into these edges, you'd really have to be very painstakingly doing it carefully. Now in that video, which I'll also link below that Rosaleo mentioned, I do show you things that you can do. Once you've softened the fiber around the edges, then you can go in and just use your fingers to, I don't know, scrunch up the edges, and then you can ink them up. Now the other thing is, a lot of the inking can happen with your coffee staining to begin with. So when it's coffee stained, sometimes your edges have that kind of inked look anyway. Make a lot of mess, everyone. So you're going to have to collect it. All right, you're going to need a bunch of papers to work with. It'll depend on how much you can hold on to. You might even need something to hold it down. For example, I've got these. I use these for my crafting. They're great as clips. They really are. So let's just clip one side of this down. So, you know, these are like what, for men's trousers, ladies and men's trousers. So you just want to make sure your papers are lined up. Okay, so it's a really great clip when you're doing big projects. It's very, very handy. The only thing is it's very heavy. You're basically now going to be quite lethal. So be careful. Now this video is not intended for children. None of my videos are. My videos are for adults. You know, we've got to watch out for our kids. So it's not for children. But even as adults, we need to be careful. So caution and care before crafting. Yeah, all right. So what you're going to do is you're going to be quite brutal, because the reason why we're doing all of this together is one page alone is going to be very tedious, number one. If you like tedium, great. We envy you. But if you don't like tedium and you want to get your pages done fast, especially if you're creating for other people, and also the strength in numbers will be like a cardboard. So the cardboard can kind of cope with a lot of distressing, but paper on its own, depending on its paper size, so 80 GSM, it really does. You have to be like super caringly careful. and tender. But that's where the tedium is going to come in, because if you've got hundreds of papers to do, wow, that's going to take you forever. All right, so let's go for it.
I know I'm a bit cavalier here and taking a risk. I couldn't find my gloves at the time, but I do strongly recommend that you have a mitten, a glove, or safety gloves on if you're going to be as close as I am to my fingers. But please, please try and saw away, not backwards and forwards, more to and fro, towards you and back, but keep everything at a safe distance. Eventually you will get used to it, but you just got to hold things firmly and work away from yourself if at all possible, but have a safety glove on. That will be your best bet.
Don't worry if you tear around the edges. That's what distress is all about. So I'm just showing you some of the things you can be doing. So you might want to do this outside, because it's going to be like dandruff, crafting dandruff everywhere. And you can see why you need to sort of be giving it a tight grip. So if that's a bit hard for you, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you might have to find another way around it, but this is the way that works for me. Don't forget the other side. So you want them all to be lined up, because remember, safety and strength in numbers. And of course there's no safety here because we're being brutal. So normally I don't have this, I just use my hands, but it is helping. I must admit, having this here is really helping my hands to hold on it a little bit better, because it's keeping all the pages aligned. That's what you want. You want your pages aligned. Don't be afraid of being brutal. It's only paper. Just be afraid of hurting your fingers. So please watch your fingers, all right? This isn't as dangerous as some serrated knives, so make sure you have one that isn't going to really do you a lot of damage if by accident you hurt yourself. So disclaimer, this could hurt you, so please be careful. So generally I'm going away and don't have a sharp knife. And what I love about this is like a bone folder as well, you know, because it's nice and smooth. The handle. Okay. It really gives your hand a great workout, but boy, the grip hurts. But once it's done, it's done. And you can have as many papers as you wish. So can you see what we've done? Okay, so let's keep going. Oops, see, I just hurt myself. And that's really dangerous for someone like me. Because I have to be careful that I don't exacerbate anything on my hands, because I get eczema, as you might know. So I've already kind of, you know, drawn blood. So it is a bit brutal, so I'm telling you, be very careful. Now, I'm not going to do too much on the edges, because it's already kind of got that ripple effect. All right, so can you see the motions that I'm doing? You can even bang it that way, but always kind of do the carving away from you, not so that you don't get, you know, hurt. So do it away. If you go that way, you'll hurt yourself. So what I would recommend is put some gloves on this hand. You won't need it with this hand, so put like knitted gloves or fingerless gloves on this hand just to protect it, okay? If you're liable to hurt yourself. So again, disclaimer, please be careful and cautious. Okay, so again, I'm doing this away from myself. Now some papers may not even get affected, so you can collect them and then do the whole process again until you're satisfied. Okay, so let me just shake these out, and I'll tip everything out. I've got it all over me, so it's like a sawdust, a paper sawdust actually. And I'll show you what we've done. See what I mean? It's just flying everywhere. All right, I'll just clean this up. I was just doing all of this like this over the bin. I've got a very big bin behind me. Okay, so we don't need that anymore. So you can see why I needed this. I mean, look at that. Okay, so there we go. You have now distressed your edges in a very reasonable way. Obviously it's not as severe and as extreme as when I did the one that you all saw, but it's natural, and that's what I love about it. It's a real natural effect. So like I said, the outside pages will have borne the brunt, but you can see right. Well, you can absolutely see with this one here how extreme, because this was on the outside, it was bearing the brunt. But it's still looking natural. So if you just look around those edges, hopefully. Okay, so this one didn't really get much, just a little bit. But I hurried this along really quickly. So some of them haven't got these edges. So like for example, what we can do is, say that happens to you because you're being gentle rather than savage. You can get your frustrations out. Okay. Now, alright, so let's go with these ones. So I'll just move that out of the way and just collect the paper. But can you see it's a lot more difficult with just a few papers? But you might like that. You might like it super distressed. Okay. So just go along where you want more. Okay, let's have a look. All right, so now I don't know if you can see this edges now. See, this bit here again is being missed. So maybe I could just work a little bit on there. So just look at where you want to get more distressing happening. Okay, so that's getting a little bit more. Okay, so now all right, everyone, so have a look at this now. Maybe if I turn it up this way or this way. It's hard, sometimes the paper might be a bit distracting. Can you see now how this is definitely getting more of that distressed look? You can probably see it even better here. So this bit hasn't had much, but this is where you can just go in with your fingers and, you know, create little folds and things, and you can use your fingers to create more tears. So it's just a matter of playing. But honestly, this is the fastest way I have found to get the papers done really, really fast. I mean, look at that one here. I mean, that's pretty good. And what I love about it is it's got that more natural feel to that distressed, aged look. But some of you might not want it that distressed. You might prefer it subtle. So this would be the way to go. Now this one didn't really get much at all, but you can still see that, and that would be natural in a lot of books. You know, some of the pages can be pristine, other pages can be rough. Okay, so if you want to know how I do these effects, I'll put my links below. I'll do the coffee tea staining in a tray for you as well. I'll just put all my coffee tea staining stuff and faded and frayed if you're interested below. Okay, so I mean, yeah, you can actually. All right, so that is the way to distress your edges, but now we have another thing we need to do. So let me just show you first. Now, doesn't that look distressed? I'm going to do a before and after for you. So I'm going to do a screenshot of this, and hopefully, if I wasn't moving my papers around too much, you will see what it was like before. All right, so have a look at this. I don't think I took any shots before, but let me get you some papers so you can see. Okay, so these ones haven't been done that way. Look at the difference. Whoops. All right. Now look at the difference. These are very wavy, and that looks really great too, but there's your distressed look. There we go on this side, so you can see the difference now, and you will when you experiment, and you'll be able to decide how distressed you're going to do it. But boy, it speeds up your time. So I've gone through all the angles for you here. Okay, all right, there you go. So you can see. I'll just leave these here for now. Okay, so some of you would like the inking up the edges.
So now you will have two options of the way that you can ink the edges if you're going to go down that route. So the first way, as you can see here, is just doing each page individually. In the second example, you will see the fast, rapid way of how to go about inking up your pages. But multiple ones at a time rather than one at a time, as you can see here. So it is laborious. If you've got a few papers, it's not so bad, but if you have a lot of papers, then maybe the second approach might suit your needs. The multiple inking up at the same time method will be coming up after the one page at a time method.
Remember that video I showed you about making your inking book? So you make it to the size of your paper. I'll put that below as well. And then choose your ink pad thingy and use whatever application works for you. I prefer sponges because I just feel they're fast and I like the effect they give me. So let's just compare the two. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's pretty fragile. Pretty fragile paper. So there you go. This is not cardboard. But yeah, so you can see already we're getting that aged effect just by using a little bit of a sponge. And that's what you could do with each page, in front of the TV, in front of YouTube, or listening to your favorite podcast, or if you're talking to a friend on the phone or on Zoom, you can just be inking up your edges while they're chatting to you over a cup of coffee.
So let's now start on my favorite way of doing it, and that is the multiple inking up at the one time method. It gets the job done really, really quickly, as you will see, and speed up your journal making crafts.
I've got this because it catches all the dandruff that can come from these things. So you're going to get your ink pad and line all your papers nicely. If you can get your papers all the one same size, then at the same time you get right into them. Sometimes kind of is it concertinaing like that also helps, because then you're getting all the edges at once. And some papers you might have to do individually because, you know, you can't get to all of them. But you can use any color if you prefer blue, if you prefer gold, you know, because you can get gold ink pads. You might prefer pink. Get your ink pad and you've got all of this done at once, and it looks fantastic when the pages are together. Okay. Now I've chosen this because it's quite dark, but if you're going for more of that vintage, I would recommend the coffee or vintage photo paper. That would be the best. But this really kind of is very grungy. Alright, so I've just done this really quickly. But can you see it's kind of almost got a very burnt effect on the edges? See? If I put these together, wherever it's lacking, you can keep going on it like this. It needs a bit more there. But all the edges are now looking distressed. I hope these lights are showing it up. Even more distressed than before. So here's the papers that haven't been done at all. and all of them are done and dusted, and it just is so effective. So again, some of these pages might need a bit more work, but yeah, maybe make them a smaller pile. So oops, okay, you stay there. Maybe yeah, shall I count the sheets? This might help. Okay, 20. If 20 is too hard to handle and you're not getting the results, make them in smaller bundles, but not too small. So I think 10 is a good number to work with. You can really get into everything, and you can ink them up a lot easier and still get that speed happening. Yeah, so let's just do that together, and I might change it to... So the concertinaed way like this is really good. You can sort of hit everything, but it would mean that you'd have to do it on the other side as well. And just be prepared for more dandruff to fall off, because the papers still will have a lot of, you know, residue left. I'm sorry if I was going off camera there. Sort of get carried away here. So you'll see the parts that haven't been edged or distressed. There you go. So now you know how I like to do my papers. Get that real quick distressed look. Some of these will need inking up. But there you go. Because it's very time consuming to go around there tearing and tearing and tearing. You might have a great, I've got this that has a jaggedy kind of edge, but that's still quite a lot of work to get through it all. But I guess it just depends on who you are, your circumstances, whether you love taking the time over pages. Then if that's your thing, go for it. But for those of you that need speed and think, oh no, I've got to ink, oh no, I've got to, you know, cut up the papers, it's just too much. Well, I hope this will speed you along and get you the results that you're looking for, because I think it really is worth your while giving it a go, because you will get amazing results. You can do, just going to put them there so that they're out of the way.
So here I'm just showing you the example of what naturally occurs when you're coffee tea staining paper. It seems to like to pull or gather around the edges, and you get that nice darkening effect, that inking effect, which gives it that aged look. Now, it doesn't always go around the entire page, so you might want to compensate that by choosing a color, an ink pad color that's similar to this, and then inking the parts that haven't been you know, saturated by your tea coffee staining. But you do get some really beautiful results that way, and you might be just happy with that look.
Okay, that if you do this with your white paper, so you're going to get your bunch of white paper. So let's just do it with white. I'll just show you. And of course you're going to coffee stain it. So I might just do that with you, because I might just coffee stain it with you actually. And then we can see the results together. And this is actually digital paper. I should really get some other paper too. Hang on. I'll just get this started. Okay, make sure your papers are lined up and away from your hands. And it would be good to use your fingerless gloves or gloves with this hand to protect it, okay? So, just in case. And don't be afraid to really grip the paper, because that's what adds the age look. You know, that crumpledness is going to give it that aged effect. Okay, so sometimes you need to go on the other side as well. But you need the papers lined up. That's so important, so that you're getting it distributed everywhere. Using this instant coffee, and I think I did 1.5 tablespoons in just a normal sized mug, like so. Okay, we've got an urn that keeps on giving. I don't know where to put this. Let me just put it over here. So it is hard yakka, but less time consuming than, okay, so that we chopped off a little bit there. That's okay. Don't panic, it's only paper. Just watch those, just watch your hands, your fingers. Let's clean up. Okay, now normally I put coffee and tea. I use both. This might be a little bit strong, so hopefully I can water it down. Have I got my water bottle? I should have a water bottle somewhere, no? Okay, there's a little bit of water there. So normally that's what I would do, but I'm doing this very rapidly just to show you what to expect. I'm not going to do anything fancy with any plastic lace or anything like that, but can you see how distressed that is? Now that's better to see, isn't it? That's so much better to see. Can you see that? Right, so that's with paper, you're getting that distressed effect, very natural, and you could use this if you were creating old letters like from 1700s or earlier. You could definitely use this because it's very natural in its dog-eared edges. Well, that's my opinion anyway. You might disagree. But yeah, I love it. I really love this. And it's fast. You're going to have to give your hands a workout, and please be careful, remember. But that's what it looks like. So, very effective. Alright everyone, as I said, it's the 6th of July 2022. It's been great having your company. I will be back
with part 2. So this has been part 1, and I'll make sure there's a playlist for the rest of the series. It looks like there might be parts 1, 2, 3 and even 4. We'll see how we go. This was already quite long, and I've had to even minimize this, but I hope it's been instructional and helpful, and please stay tuned for part 2. It will be coming to my YouTube channel real soon, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you everybody, I appreciate you. Bye.